Thank you very much all for coming tonight. It's Intach and dram Anseo or chuireamar. Great to see a crowd like this for an Irish language event on a Tuesday night. Who knows what we can do on a Friday night? So just a couple of words, a couple of things. I'm going to mix my languages. We have Leabhra Feabhra, so it's a kind of it's an idea that some people had, and it's a name we stole, but basically it's just an excuse to have a celebration of books and writers and reading. So that's why we're all here. So Úna-Minh Kavanagh has chat, thanks all for coming. Mar a dúirt mé hana féin, as I said, tá leabhar ar díal an sin, tá leabhar Úna-Minh ar díal, and it's going like hotcakes in it. So if you want to get one, you should probably think about doing that pretty soon. And if you don't get one tonight, you can go and order one, and then buy another one again, and another one, and another one. So we also have, as I said, there's a few books there belonging to Conan and Leabhra that we will give to you for a small donation of whatever you think you can give. There might be a few more of those coming later too. Also, in tablet shin on the table, to roimh shin on. Okay, roimh a registration form for our new club, our new book club. The book club is completely new. We don't know when it will happen, where it will happen, what will happen. We have nothing sorted out yet, but we want to find out who's interested, and then we will find out what kind of thing we're interested in. So I have put on the roimh level A, or is level B, or level A, or is level A. So two levels. Level A, or level A, that's for people who might be closer to beginners, pre-intermediate level, people who are not, people who are very glad there's a lot of English here tonight. And don't be worried if you think you haven't got enough Irish. It is an Irish language reading club, but we might, if there's people like that who want to do some reading, we might be able to put something together. We might work that out. So level B, or level B, is for people who are a bit more confident, people who are sick of all this English being spoke, and maybe people who've done the art testimonial or art level, and who maybe already read in Irish, or would like to be reading properly in Irish. And again, we could have a couple of different groups within that, depends. But if you're interested, stick your details down, and we'll work out the rest of the details. So the people who are going to be doing most of that work are not me. So they, Neil Ella and Neil Culligan here, agus Alana di Galapur, agus Danger Shoe and Porcher, she's on the way. But these guys will be working on those details. So it'll probably be them who are in touch with you by your email address. Okay? So Mata Simmer be agus later up the grade. If anyone's interested at all in reading in Irish, give us your details for this new reading club, and we'll try to put something together for us. Okay? Anish or not. I'm a special we have a very special guest. As Condi Curie, Hennig She of Leabhra from County which came from Dublin today to be here. And so Shoi Úna-Minh Kavanagh. So Tarsus, Úna-Minh agus William Brady, so it's lector agus Ashtor Liam Ulster near London, so lecturer and actor in University of West London. So he'll be leading an interview with Úna-Minh, and maybe we'll have a couple of questions at the end too, so you can make notes. Okay, so Seo Liam, agus Bula Bus more, big round of applause for Úna-Minh.
Yeah, so Tom, on Leabhra on Leabhra, we're going to do a little reading from the book. Firstly, this whole process?
Fine moment.
Yeah, fine, right?
Can't quite hear that well enough. Is this the... Shall I? Yeah, just give us a hele do.
A hele do.
Chuireamar.
No, not that. Hele do.
Oh,
Up the shape.
just a hele do-ish.
Hele do. 3, 4, 5, 6.
Shouldn't he start it?
Hello. Indo. Chuireamar. Yeah, Indo.
A rish the hele do?
Indo.
Okay. Sin calculor?
Okay, cool. Right, so that I've got to Leabhra, page 86 for those who have it. It's a chapter called Where Are You Really From? I've had more than my fair share of racism and general ignorance in my life. From the casual racism by a taxi driver or shop assistant to being jeered at and shoved in the street. It's all game for some people. And apart from it being obviously problematic and nasty, the underlying effect of having to deal with the same insults and questions again and again is extremely frustrating because I've grown up all my life knowing that I'm Irish. Not Irish Vietnamese, not Vietnamese, simply Irish. Meeting new people can be interesting. I smile and I'm polite and I feel like they're just waiting for me to say something they consider non-Irish so that they can interrupt with a "aha, so you're clearly not really one of us." Their desire to catch me out has made me wary of strangers in new situations. Since my early college days, I've learned how to prepare myself for new surroundings and people, but that in turn burns a lot of my own energy. So then it's even more exhausting having to prove something as inherent and undeniable as my Irish identity. Only in Ireland, my home, am I a curiosity, no matter how many times I've spoken publicly about my identity. Taxis are often the scenes of this nonsense, passed off as casual banter. As a result, I try and avoid most of them now. After hopping in and confirming that, yes, I am indeed the person that they meant to pick up, the conversation starts with the most innocent of questions. Oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Kerry, I respond, knowing exactly what is coming next. And the conversation moves on, the driver becomes more probing and less polite. They glance between my reflection in their rear-view mirror and my name on the taxi app. Úna-Minh Kavanagh. Yeah, but where are you really from? Well, I'm from Kerry, but I'm a freelancer, so I work around the country. Yes, but where are your people from? My people? Well, my mum is also from Kerry, and a lot of my family are from the Gaeltacht. And was learning another language easy since, No, I love Irish, it's great. My granddad spoke to me in Irish all the time. And on, and on, and on. I'm no fool. I know what they're really asking. What they're really asking is, why are you brown? It's not that people of colour are hypersensitive to or offended by being asked, where are you from? It's the lack of acceptance dressed up as incredulity that is ridiculous and rude. We're just so tired of having to explain ourselves and our heritage all the time, especially because people don't take our first answer, where are you from, as the truth. Why would I lie to you? My partner, who is a white Irishman, is never probed about where he is really from when he's asked. My mom's never asked, nor was my granddad either. I lived in Dublin for 10 years of my adulthood, a city where people from all across the world have made their home, and yet I was regularly on the receiving end of the belief that being white automatically means you're Irish. This discrimination grinds a person down, and I'm not unique in feeling this. Indeed, the director of the European Network Against Racism, Chin O'Curry, put it well when he described how the drip, drip, drip effect of casual racism turns corrosive and wears down on a person. Oh, I can relate. So by the time I started working as a journalist in Dublin at the age of 21, after completing my degree in 2012, I had become used to hearing racial slurs thrown at me. I was working on Capel Street, one of the best streets in Dublin, side note, where I would frequent a Brazilian shop, an Italian cafe, a Korean barbecue, a Japanese restaurant, and even a Vietnamese cafe. The street felt safe, and I was spoiled for choice when it came to seeking lunch options. No one even looked at me twice. But when I left the street for the rest of the city, I needed to avoid hassle, and I did so by putting on my headphones, dipping my head down and walking on. I could be doing anything, or nothing. Walking down Henry Street, hanging with my mates in St. Stephen's Green, or getting a takeaway with my mates, and some dope would yell at me something like, "What's the crack, Miss Ping Pong?" A year later, I had enough of the slurs. All I wanted to do was go around my daily business, not feeling on the defensive all the time. And so there I was, on a rare, sunny Thursday in May, standing on Parnell Street, minding my own business, after another day of work and looking at my phone. I'd spotted a group of young people, about 10 or so teenagers, coming towards me from the street, and had consciously dipped my gaze down to the screen by default diversion tactic. When I looked up, it was just in time to hear one of the boys shout at me, "You're a fucking chink." Once again, I found myself bored and irritated, having to defend myself. It was a sunny day in early summer. I was paying them no attention. Why couldn't they just leave me alone? I reacted quickly, without thinking, without politeness, and exhaled an exasperated, "Oh, fuck off." But as soon as I spoke, one of them grabbed my face with his right hand and yanked at it. I stumbled out of shock and force of it, and he then spat in my face. Utter humiliation. The gang moved on, all laughing and giving each other playful arm jabs. They left me to wipe the spit off my face and hair. I stood alone, phone in hand, my stomach churning with shame, fright, and anger, and not a single person came to my aid.
I suppose that there's so much in the book, it covers so many areas, identity, language, life as a freelancer, so many areas, but I think we'll start on that particular appalling dark chapter that you just read from. It feels like the theme of the book is taking these terrible things and working to make them into something positive. Would you say that's something we were working with the book?
Yeah, leis an hour aficionado with the collision, layers an hour is really important for me to utilise the book for good, because you know, so many bad things happen to so many people, and I really wanted it to be a positive, an overall positive experience from something terrible. And this, I suppose that it was probably why my my editor approached me in the first place about she'd be following me for a few years online. I never know who's following me. I'm very lucky at the same time. And agus she talked to her, she sent me a DM asking did I ever consider writing a book, because besides like, oh, you know, if you have to read. So I wasn't too sure at first, because I wasn't too sure if I had enough in me to write a book, because I'm 28 and I didn't really think that too much had happened. But the more I dwelled on it, the more I thought, okay, maybe there's something that I can work with and create something about Irish identity. And Mar Denny the Yall, growing up as a person of colour, and with the unusual childhood I had in Igiri. So you know, we shape on a different agus me on some snowkity agus, you know, be cracking down with my brown skin. I was like in a very white town at the time. So yeah, that incident certainly helped spur everything that followed it. But it's definitely not something that I really, it's not really something that I focus on too much, even though I know it's in the blurb and everything like that, but I feel like I'm so much more than really running the fáílte agus mar. So I'm more than things that just relate to racism and stuff like that. At this stage, I hope, anyway, yeah.
Cruthaitheoir me our cúpleo and Glor Talia have stayed with me, a lot of things have stayed with me. But particularly until the title, Anseo, which I guess for a lot of people, it's the first word you learn as Gaeilge.
Yeah.
It's a skull. It's when Winter is calling out the role. But it feels like there's also something else going on about asserting one's place.
Yes,
one is,
and that was kind of the vibe. Funny enough, this title came to us when we were had a meeting with all the editors, and we were in Dewberry Books, and we're just sitting around a table looking at all the other books on shelves. We're like, what could a really really cool word, be. We're just throwing out these like, Inish, or what, or Anseo. And I was like, Anseo, yeah. But then we were like, we can't just pick the first name that we come up with. And it turns out that was the one. But it was like one of those things where, yeah, you know, fáílte or skull, you do learn it in school. You know, I have a picture in there actually of me with my hand up in my uniform on the first day of school. I'm doing exactly that. And I think it resonated to people for that as well, but also they wanted to present it as Úna-Minh Anseo, like Úna-Minh here, you know, that I'm here. And originally, funny enough, as well, when we were teasing out all the titles and everything, we had the Anseo above my name, but that didn't make sense for what we were trying to go for. So yeah, it was even just on a mar froché sé a chur le chéile I Leabhra, you know, it was a very interesting process to put it together as a book and see it come to fruition, because I didn't have enough time to write it.
Even though it's not a biography, I read a review in the Irish Times from, it was 2 weeks ago, and it makes the point that there's nothing self-absorbed about it. It's very much also preoccupied with the people who have influenced you, the experiences, particularly in your journey in Irish, with the Irish language, particularly your grandfather, who seems to have had a huge and important influence.
Yeah, for me it wasn't, you know, my name may be on the book, but I mean the cover, it was my granddad who influenced most of the book, because he brought the language to me. And it was super important for me to tell his story, because unfortunately, you know, he was a very gifted Gaeilgeoir, the Gael all in again, a beautiful Munster Irish, but no one had gotten to him to tell his story before he died. And it was very important to me to tell as much as possible, as much as my mom could remember, and you know, my cousin's stuff could remember, because you know, I don't have that good a memory. And as well, my mom as well, I felt it was vitally important to share a lot of her story as well. And also just in general, you know, my teachers who helped form my love of the language, all my lecturers, and the people who mentored me throughout the years. So I think your description there is correct. You know, it's not really, it has me in it, but it's not really about me as well. It's more the Irish language at its core as well, obviously.
There are two particular primary school teachers who are also quite important. Though I think it's been a sort of experience for a lot of people in secondary school that the curriculum can be quite narrow, and reading between the lines, it feels like when it comes to the OR test, there's a lot of rote learning, and I wonder if that's something that puts people off Irish.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you notice in the book, if you read it, there's there's all this, I love my primary school, it's fantastic, and then there's a massive gap of nothing about a secondary school. So I do think there are a lot of things that we can do to change the system now when it comes to secondary school. I guess I was lucky, you know, that my granddad was from the Gaeltacht, so we're on 5 of them, Cunn Gael and Owl. I didn't have too much of an issue learning the language or bringing it into secondary school, you know. Chuireamar on Ábhar taught the more attached to school. Irish was my most important subject. I didn't care about any other subject apart from Irish in my secondary school for my leaving cert. So, but there are definite problems with the system and issues in terms of curriculum and teaching for sure. Yeah, that puts people off. But I'm noticing, I mean, you can see it here. I mean, there's still an interest as adults, you know, to relearn the language or just be interested in language. I think that's the case a lot these days. Is if we can just put aside the academic, you know, aspect to it and focus on how we can use it in more modern life, then we're doing quite well in that respect.
And also possibly a way to make people less intimidated by it.
Yes.
There seems to be apologeticness about
definitely.
it.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of people who, whenever they speak to me, a lot of time they tend to, so please don't do this if you're talking to me, but they tend to apologise for their standard of Irish. I really don't care. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. I mean that I'm not going to correct you unless you ask me to correct you. Because it's not my job, I'm not a teacher, and I want to use it as naturally as anyone else. To me, it's a language that I want to use as a normal person, and correcting, you wouldn't really do it in English unless you're particularly nasty about it. So why would you do it in Irish, you know? So I feel that you don't need to correct people's Irish unless they really want to, you know? And you should never apologise for your standard at all. Yeah.
I didn't realise until I read the book and then started following you on Twitter how vibrant and widespread the Irish language Twitter community is.
It's huge, yeah.
When did you begin plugging into that or
This is
becoming
going
involved?
to sound terrible, but I've been on Twitter since 2009, so that's 11 years, 10 years, so that's too long. And I think I've sent about 100,000 tweets in that period of time, which is a lot. But the Irish, like you said, the community is really actually powerful on Twitter. And you will notice that the majority of people are also not elitist in any aspect. And they, like I said, like myself, we just want to use it as much as possible. And you can easily find these people just using a simple hashtag Gaeilge, and you'll come across everyone. And there's actually a list, if you are looking for people to follow on Twitter, there's a thing called indigenous.tweets.com, I think, and it has a full list of the amount of people who use Irish only on their Twitter accounts. And it's a huge community. Most are welcoming. The people who aren't welcoming, you'll discover them very quickly, so it's okay. So, you know, there are a few, like any situation, like any grammar obsessed situation, it's bound to appear somewhere. But the quid is mo, yeah.
One of my favourite things in the book is something which is also on your Twitter page, the Frása an Lé, which
Yes.
you incorporated.
Every day, yeah.
Would you like to explain?
Yeah, so phrase of the day is something that I send out every day. Thankfully, I pre-schedule them, so I have, I can pre-schedule them 2 weeks in advance, so I don't actually have to do it physically on the day. And it's basically a fun and humorous way to use the Irish language in a more modern approach. It means that I'm allowed to curse as much as I want, and I can just be very, I suppose, cheeky with it. And it's definitely not the terminology that you learn in school. No.
In the beginning, you start thinking it'll be the Shanachos, and there are some Shanachos.
There are some Shanachos.
No place like home, Elaine Tinton by the Hinton thing.
Yeah.
But then there are wonderful ones. Your favourite Frása an Lé?
I don't, but I mean, if you read any of them out, it can be a bit intense sometimes.
It's time you got off your butt. Knock mihid dit the home awaga.
There you go. So that's the kind of vibe that we're going for. But it's just kind of to make it a bit more fun, and it's great because I can make it topical. Obviously, we just had our election, so I was kind of catering towards that kind of audience just for a bit of crowd. It was, bunch of Anseo thoughts, you some folklore back in a lot, kind of so I used the folklore.ie online is an amazing Irish dictionary, and I use a lot of them for my phrases because they tend to add the modernize a lot of phrases too. So yeah, the resources are there as well. People look for
And it's not only the Frása an Lé. After the 2013 the attack, you began a hashtag We Are Irish.
Yes.
Another example, I suppose, of social media being a good force. So.
Yeah, social media is definitely a massive part of my life. And We Are Irish was a hashtag that I developed it was kind of a project on diversity in Ireland, just to showcase what a variety of ethnicities we have in Ireland at the moment. Agus nachfuil duine, cracking gal, so not every person has white skin. So it was really great that we got a huge variety of people to come forward to that, and I put it into a collage which people can find online. The majority of it was good. It did garner very negative attraction from dark spaces of the internet, and I had to deal with that at the time too. But overall, thankfully, it was positive. It was exhausting at the same time because you're trying to balance between dealing with the good that was coming out of it, but also dealing with the horrible stuff that was also coming out of it. Yeah.
That must be quite relentless because it is also you work online.
Yes.
Both the Gaeilge and the streaming, the Clicky streaming. It must be relentless trying to
juggle them.
Yeah.
It is. I think it's one of the. It's so good. It's one of those examples of. I hesitate to call it what I am because I do so many weird different things that I now kind of describe myself as a multimedia content creator, and it is tough to juggle. And funny enough, if I had a choice, I wouldn't be on social media at all. Yeah, but not unfortunate. But it is part of my life now, and I use it. But I'm trying to. I utilize it as much as possible for the good rather than being cynical or negative because that wastes too much of my energy. So yeah, and I've learned a lot from the trolling as well, how to develop that thick skin. And with trolling in particular over the years, I have now garnered 10,000 people blocked on Twitter. That's how bad it got throughout the years. And these are people who are, really adamant that globalization is bad and mass immigration is bad. Those kind of people, and they come forward with things like Ireland for the Irish only and all that jazz, even though I only own one Irish passport and that's it. So it's an interesting to have to deal with these people. It's so cringe. You can spot them a mile off, but it's something that I have to deal with.
So you said if you had the choice, you would never go on social media, or you wouldn't use it. It struck me from the piece that you read, there's almost this disjunct from the fact that there was such a positive response on social media and supportive response, yet when you were in Parnell Street, nobody came to your assistance.
It was very jarring, and if you spark up galore, like I was pretty angry about it, that not a single person would bother to ask if I was okay, especially because Parnell Street's a busy street, it's not like some random alleyway or anything like that. And I am describing it like there was a man who was sitting in a taxi like a few meters away from it, and I looked at him pleading, just see me as a human who's just been spat at, and he just looked away. And I was like, I can't believe I have to deal with this on my own, that I'm left here rubbing spit out of my hair. No, I have to walk back home. And it was one of those decisions. I'd never gone to the Gardaí about anything. So I was because I always thought that it would be a waste of their time, which is so terrible to think, but the fact, hate crime legislation is not really in Ireland. I knew that I really felt that it would be a waste of time, but I was so angry and pumped up by it that I was like, no, you know what, I'm an adult, I'm going to go down to the Garda station and report it for the first time and everything like that. So it was, it was definitely something that just made me question why was it that people thought that I was so insignificant in that moment.
You said in the book you decided not to press charges when the person was...
Yeah, so I was offered two options. I could press charges, or I could do a system called restorative justice. And restorative justice is a system where you meet with the attacker and you discuss what happened and how it affected you and see how it affected them and why they did it in that way. An fághaidh é sin seachas dul chuig na courte. The reason why I chose that instead of going to the courts is because I felt that the court system would be fruitless and that it would just be so clinical and you get a slap on the wrist and what. It's like they wouldn't be able to see, I suppose, a more human aspect to it. So Yenis, restorative justice, I met with him, the main guy who was involved with it. I didn't really need to meet with the rest of the group, and he was a known person at the time as well, so he was actually pretty easy to track down. And yeah, it was one of those things where I'm not sure if it was worth it, because I did feel like a guinea pig in the whole situation, but I do think it was important to do so that he would see that I'm just, as Eric, I'm just another Irish person, and that they had affected a person, and that there were there were consequences to his actions. Like I went very media heavy with it, so it was, I think it was important to do in that moment for me anyway. I'm not sure if it actually offered full closure, but I did my best with it, I think, yeah.
You described earlier in the book an incident where you were picked on, bullied in primary school.
Yes.
Your mother went up, and your mother seems to be a big source of strength and influence.
She is, yeah.
Yeah.
My mom is a hero. She really is. Like, well, when I was bullied in primary school, just once, which was, it was just this guy who was just, putting his eyes and that kind of stuff, which just was commonplace in the playground. I was just kind of sick of it. So I went to her, and she marched up to the school and spoke to the principal and said that she had to take it seriously. And then eventually she did, and it was stamped out, and that was it. And it was pretty incredible and it was tough for her as well, because my mom, Bavuntori, she was a teacher as well. So it's tough for another teacher to go up to a principal of another school just to tell them that their system isn't working or something like that, So, but she did it for me, and Like, I mean, I'm so grateful because some people might just say, oh, it's just a bit of teasing and be gone or whatever, but no, I'm very, very grateful.
There's also a lovely moment where she's encouraging you to be the person in the media that you don't see.
Yeah.
An Irish, I think I've got that the wrong way around, but it's that you didn't see anybody who looked like you.
Yeah, I mean, Mom wanted me to be a teacher as well. And I was like, no, I don't have the patience for it. So, but when she saw that I was going towards media, she always encouraged me to head towards inneachar. She's like, that's your goal, go for them. The Irish language is great, and also you're different, so that's great as well. So she was very much in favour of celebration of diversity, which I was also super grateful for. She was always super open about my adoption. She was very, at the time, Gohara nobody, especially in the 90s, like, Vishiana, Diffru, Agus, Crowbit, it was very courageous of her to come back as a single parent to Tralee, a small town, with a child, an adopted child, and have to also deal with, the small town politics that you get of just people whispering and saying, well, she's not married, and, that kind of stuff. Which was still so prevalent in the 90s in Ireland. So it was like, I'm go that she had that kind of courage to do that on her own, because I wouldn't be here in this capacity without her, So she's an amazing woman. So I hope that I got enough of her across in the book. Yeah.
Although you mentioned you hadn't had a brilliant Irish learning experience in secondary school, you do talk about the Gaeltacht as your summers as a positive experience. You worked in Closh-na-Bhín as well.
Closh-na-Bhín, yeah. I worked in Closh. I attended Closh-na-Bhín in 2007 as a student, and then the next year I went as a kindergarten, and then next year after that I went as an originator and an kindergarten.
What's the difference?
So, so the student is just as a student, and then you have an option to apply for kindergarten, which is like a leader. So I was very lucky, not to toot my own horn here, but I went to the A course in Rathcarn. It was my first course as a student, and usually the system was that you had to do 2 years before you became a kindergarten, but I applied and thankfully became a kindergarten the year after. So that meant that I was kind of in charge of students, and there was a team of us there. And then the next year I applied for kindergarten, which is like higher leader. I'm not sure how to translate it properly into English, but like a higher leader who is more in charge of the running of what's going on week to week and everything like that. So yeah, it was a great experience.
How did it compare being a student versus being in charge?
It was tricky because I was some of them were my age, and I'm also quite short, so it was hard enough sometimes to be like, no, you have to not do that, whatever. So it was. I think I would hope that I had the same level of mass. There was some mass respect there that we could have the crack, but also you have to kind of abide by the rules, which is difficult when you're all kind of not adults yet. But it was a wonderful experience, and Fun Marsh really is the way to go. Especially we'd have students coming in and they would not have a single word of Irish on the first day. But I kind of explain this in the book as well, but what you do is you kind of speak to them in Pidgin Irish, and then as the weeks progress, they get so good, and by the time they're leaving, they just can't stop speaking Irish. And it's so wonderful to see the quarter milk shake winning off to keep that out.
Agus then it can be their first time away from home as well.
And that's hard, I know the feeling of being away home and just being homesick and just wanting to leave. You get a lot of students who just want to go home, and you just kind of have to kind of coax them like, oh, just a few more days, and then suddenly there's like a break and like, this is the best time ever, and they can't leave, and they're crying when they're leaving, and it's a very emotional experience. But of course, the Dean Foss and lots of courses for Irish, for adults in Irish in the Gaeltacht, so I'd highly encourage you, if you haven't gone to the Gaeltacht, to give it a lash, because it's good crack. Lots of drinking and lots of partying and learning.
How's the response been in Kerry?
In Kerry, I was determined. So I had 2 launches in Ireland. I had One in East and South Common Street in Dublin, and the second one, the first one rather, was the important one, which was the Kerry launch. And it was super important for me to do that, mar we got in own scéalsa éigeary, like everyone pretty much from my story was in Kerry. And I always think that it's on thought of that we have events outside of Dublin because there are so many events that are Dublin centric. And yeah, it was wonderful. I had it in the library in Kerry, and all my primary school teachers were there, and some of my secondary school teachers as well, and even the two teachers who I write about in the story were there, and it was really special, I think, because it makes a difference when you have someone from your hometown launching something or talking about something, and that you know so many people who were involved in the story as well, so shame on Waterford, yeah.
What was it like? You were saying it felt early initially to be revisiting your childhood,
Yeah.
28. What was it like actually the writing process of digging back?
I don't know how many people here have delved into the publishing world, but it's depending, I suppose, I mean, all publishers are different, but I was approached about this in the Christmas of 2018, and I had till June to submit it of the next year, but bear in mind that I only started writing in February, and I was away for all of March. Yeah, so I had 3 months. I had 3 months, and now, to be fair, that wasn't any fault of the publisher, that was just the time frame that we had, because people don't realise that the rest of it is edits, choosing the cover, choosing the fonts, choosing the layout, to going back and forth with the editor, making sure that copyrights or everything I've talked about has been approved, choosing the photos. So there are a lot of aspects to it that people don't realise.
Do you think maybe that intensity helped the fact that you didn't have a year to think, and so maybe I should put that in there?
I think it's, for me, it's better that to have a deadline. I would rather have a deadline instead of like, oh, you have 2 years to write this, because 2 years is a long time to be kind of faffing around the place and not really doing it. And I also had a phenomenal editor who really, she was kind of like one of those editors who could let you down nicely. She was never, like, this is absolute shite. So instead she was like, I really like this, but would you think of doing this instead? I was like, absolutely, no problem at all. So I'm sure that I drove her absolutely mental at times, trying to figure out, to remember things. I found was the hardest thing, because we can't go back in time, and you're working on hearsay. Not hearsay, but like, you're just kind of trying to really remember what's going on, and there's a bit of poetic license for things and things like that. Mar Froshade, when it's on das, I was absolutely wrecked by the end of it, because we wanted to get out by October in time for the Christmas period. Then from October to December it was all festivals, publicity, everything. So it was quite a learning curve, but sure, we're doing grand.
The decision to mix in the Gaelic agus Maryland, that come early on?
Yeah, so Dunhain, Vies Sé Roiachar I knew it was too hard for an accessible audience for it to be all in Irish. So instead, I opted to do it all in English, with as much sprinklings and hints of the Irish language that maybe a person would be encouraged to re-look at it and bring in the Irish language back into their lives. Like at the very end, I have a chapter just on ways you can bring the Irish language in, which I have very good crack with.
I love number 1.
Yeah, I love number 1 as well. That's my favourite one. Yeah.
Would you like to say what number 1?
No, you can say it.
Number 1 is to listen to the obituaries. Death notices. Listening to the death notices on the radio, particularly in rural Ireland, is an Irish institution. Around my part of the world, death notices are a primary topic of conversation, a bit of gossip to talk to the neighbours about. And ironically, they can bring life to a conversation. It struck me, because there is such a structure to death notices. And the more you listen, the more you'll pick up about a person's saying.
Yeah, in Irish, by the way, not in English. Just obviously listen to it in Irish. But yeah, no, it is, and it's really actually useful, because it usually has like the time of day, when they died, when's the funeral on, who was in the family, So if you do listen to them, you pick up so much vocabulary, especially place names. place names is a big one. So, I mean, it sounds a bit morbid, but it's worth it, honestly, yeah.
For Kukla tips, Ella, but
if I had a choice, I probably would have included way more tips, but a lot of them, I suppose, for myself, I know where a lot of the resources were, but these were ones that are more related to myself. So I might, in the future, release a huge bumper list of actual resources and things like that. Yeah.
that would be fantastic because it has, I mean, you introduce so many different ways of, in a non-threatening way, introducing Irish into life.
Mm-hmm.
And another big part of that is your gaming through Irish, your live streaming video games.
Yeah, this sometimes uses a lot of people, so I'll try and explain it. So 3 times a week I stream, I live stream, which means I'm live in front of an audience in Irish and English. Quite often it's video games, but I also do painting and Duolingo lessons and just generally talking to people and everything like that. The difference between it and television is that people can type back to me live and I can react to them live. So they can hear me speaking on screen and me reacting to a game or to, something like that. And then they can type something in chat and I can respond directly to them as they do so. I kind of liken it to watching Gogglebox, but the fact that it's more interactive, the fact that they can talk to me straight away and I can't see their comments. Yeah, so it's a very interactive experience, and I find a lot of people just simply watch because they want to hear what the Irish language sounds like, and I do that, like I said, 3 times a week. I used to do 4-hour slots, but now I do between 2 to 3 hours each time, so it's about 9 hours sometimes each week, for consistency for the past 2 years.
Well, there's a chapter towards the end where you talk about taking that decision to take the leap into freelance world and to take all the things you love and many things you love and run with them and make a career. When did that decision come about?
I suppose, I hated my job. I really did not. I tried to do 9-to-5 jobs for a few years. It just didn't suit me. I wanted to do so many things. I first into just Níomhaire security again, if in Tamworth, I wasn't really interested in being in an office. And it works for some people, obviously, and they really enjoy it. But for me, I wanted to look, I have a creative mind and I want to do so much more. So I decided to go freelance, which was a very tough decision because they obviously advise heavily, and probably would advise us to have savings before you go freelance. I did not have savings. I just went for it because I really was trying in the position that I was in, and I just couldn't do it anymore, and it was really affecting my own mental health. Especially her it was putting a lot of pressure on me, so I just knew that I had to leave or I would regret it, or would regret not going for it. And thankfully, when I left, I did have a few clients who wanted to work with me anyway, and I've been doing that since 2015. So it's a very tough life, but it can be super rewarding because it allows you flexibility doing events like this, or traveling. I can work from anywhere in the world, which is great. So yeah.
That brings me on to your travel blog.
Oh yeah.
Unusually named, but once you get down to the meaning behind it.
Yeah, so my travel blog, which isn't morbid, it's just it's called beforemymomdies.com. Now my mom is totally fine. She's in perfectly good health, but I don't know if it's the case for the UK, but maybe it is. But in Ireland in particular, tá Leabhra Feabhra, we have a big problem with seeing death as a taboo. An unspoken topic that we just do not talk about until the end. So my blog is actually a celebration of life, and because it's just myself and my mom in our family, and we travel the world together a lot, I decided to dedicate the blog to her and her travels, and yeah, so it's really, and we're very, very open about our mortality, and this is a completely side note, and I'm not obsessed with death, I swear, but I do have a series on it as well, which are how to make a will, a 3-part series, and also things like what to do with your social media, how to set up contacts to politics and that kind of stuff. So it's more time to deal with the reality that it's going to happen, and also that we're super open about not leaving it closed until the end, just going for it. No, so it's Clure.
Yeah, it's seizing the day, I suppose.
Exactly, yeah.
What's been your best travel memory so far?
My best travel? Yeah, I think it was actually funny enough, it's not abroad, and I've written about this, but we did the Wild Atlantic Way, Mum and I, which is all through the west coast of Ireland. We travelled from Cork all the way from, which one's Malin and which one's Mizzen? Malin's in the middle, right, okay, so we did Mizzen to Malin, there you go. And we took 2 weeks to do that. So it was fantastic, and my best memory from that was funny enough, close to the start, we hired this super dodgy caravan right next to the Atlantic. And if you think of, do you know there's an episode of Ted where they're like dancing in the caravan in the storm? That's exactly what it was like. It was so dodgy and it was shaking and everything in the middle of the night. But we were just laughing so much because it was, it was so comical, because like here we were just randomly staying in this caravan in a field, and it was a real bonding moment actually. And in the morning we woke up and opened the door, because we opened the curtain and there was the Atlantic right at our door, and it was just beautiful, So that was pretty special.
Trip coming up? Or?
We are actually heading to Wales this year, so Mom's mad for this stuff, but where she's going to drive from Kerry to Wales. So I'm going to be in the car with her, and we're going to take the ferry over, and we're going to spend some time over there, because we figured we might as well do everything in the UK now, because something has happened, and we might as well do it as soon as possible.
I might open to questions at
Sure.
this point. Anyone from the audience willing to catch a quick?
Sometimes it takes time.
You just have to stare.
Doesn't have to be that good. It could be about anything.
What's Frosa on Lay?
Frozen late for today? I don't know, because I pre-scheduled it, so it's probably, what time is it? I think it's going out in about an hour.
Oh.
Yeah. It's right now. Again?
Yeah, like not just like I got
Orintha, buireann sí le héireacht agus an chulismó, just have I experienced any racism in the Irish language community, and a lot of the time, yeah, it has to do with elitism mostly. I lived in Dublin for quite a long time, where the pronunciation is quite different from what I learned when I was a kid. So when I was a kid, I had proper grinning Munster Irish. I still have it, but my accent is quite different. Like it's not a Kerry accent, but when I was a kid, it was a Kerry accent. So the majority of backlash I get are from people who would say, "Oh, your pronunciation isn't correct," or whatever, or "That's not how we pronounce it here in, I don't know, the field." But for that kind of stuff, I'm like, you're entitled to your comment, but also look what I'm doing with the Irish language, and look what you're doing with the Irish language. You're the one who's alienating people. Yeah, so you kind of take it with that kind of attitude. I think you can certainly move forward for it. I mean, the reality is that the Irish language dialects, they change, just like English. I never thought that I'd be saying woke in this weird, confusing situation, that kind of stuff. So you just have to accept that it's an ever-changing language, and that's what's going to save it. Not the stuff where you're bogged down on if that's really the Tishkegin look or not. And I think the biggest thing as well is I make mistakes all the time, and I think one of the barriers that we have are tá fátaí sardini chun botting sin a dhéanamh. People are often nervous about making mistakes themselves, and if we could go beyond that, it would flourish definitely, and just to say, yeah, the grudges can stay in their own little circle and enjoy whatever they want, and the real people are people like doing pop-up wealthy or Closhlarkin who are doing the covers, and that's one thing actually that really annoyed me was I was in a group for a few years, and they were really going to town on Closhlarkin, how their Irish wasn't perfect. And I was like, Closhlarkin has about 5 million views on YouTube, at least. What are you talking about? Like, how is this not promoting the Irish language? So, you know, dealing with that stuff is exhausting, but shut up, like I said, you know.
The question Lauren shouldn't have the Fishon.
They do modern covers of
Yeah.
pop songs in the Irish language, and they're fantastic. They really are. I love them.
I've seen their Despacito.
Their Despacito version is phenomenal because not only is it in Irish, but it's also in Spanish. Yeah, so they put it in Despacito. Yeah, it's an interesting story to that song, but the actual Irish/Spanish version is really good, and I'd highly recommend listening to it. Yeah.
So there's a song by Will Bryson who wrote in the late 90s, I think, about the English language. But he says, as a sort of an introduction, he talks about Irish, and he quotes experts saying that the language has gone in about 10 years.
Yeah.
And that really, and I only read it quite recently, so obviously I knew that was wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering what you think happened. Did this expert get it wrong? Did he not really understand the actual situation on the ground, or did something shift?
Do you know what year it was written by
I think it
chance?
was mid-90s or late 90s.
Right. I wonder why. I haven't read it, so I'm not sure what conclusion he was, like, what he was drawing from that. I would say that it's the rise of social media that has had the most. I would imagine, and that's what's changed for me. You know, as a person who has the Irish language, that's part of my career. Like, I utilise social media and video and YouTube and everything. So I would imagine that would be the change. If social media didn't exist, he could have been right. Because what would help, you know, the reason why we're spreading the language so much is through this digital media. So I think that would be it for sure, because it has done wonders really, because it's made so many things accessible, and not even the newer stuff, but now because we can see all the older stuff on YouTube and stuff like that. It's fantastic.
I just wanted to say I enjoyed your book because I used to go to an Irish speaking pub every week when I was in Kent. We go all the way from Betsy to the city, but one day I was there, it was one Friday night, and I went into the toilet, and when I came back, I heard them talking about they hate when you're speaking Irish. And they didn't say it to me, but you know your gut, you know they're talking about you, and it really pissed me off. And I only went back once after, and it really annoyed me that I couldn't let it get to me, you know. So I'm thanks for writing the book, because I think it encouraged me to get back into this.
Yeah.
You know, I did well at the leaving cert, I went to the real top. My primary school things like that. I think I let it get to me. So.
Yeah, and that's so unfortunate, isn't it? Because that's the stuff, like I said, that's what alienates people. And all that you wanted, or all that anyone else wants, is to use a language that they love. And why are they being judged for not getting? I mean, no one's grammatically correct all the time. They think they are, but they're not. And as long as you can communicate and be understood, I think that's the most important thing. You know, realistically, absolutely, it would be wonderful if we all were grammatically perfect, but we're not at that stage yet. And we haven't been for a very long time. And even back in the day, they weren't either, you know, because we all have our different versions and dialectal differences. So it seems bizarre to me that we would kind of get bogged down on this when it was never right in the first place. So
You do cross section of words from Gilgit Moon to the Kaigon.
the Kaigon if you which I like to ignore half the time.
And there's that incident where you came in and said you made brocha.
Yeah.
And I was brocha being sick.
Sick, yeah. No, I really love the dialectal differences because I think it's what enriches language. I mean, it's the same, you know, British English, Irish English, American English, you know, and yet we're still able to understand each other, and I think that's so wonderful. And that's why I think for me it's important that I use all my terminology from Gwen and Moon and choose actively to have the differences in when I'm speaking it. And depending on who I'm talking to, I do change it to the standard just to make them feel more comfortable, you know, because I know that it's hard if someone's speaking to you in a really strong Gaeltacht, you know, it's really strong Gaeltacht Irish, that can be very intense, you know. But I think that it's okay to break down your Irish and speak in Pidgin Irish, that's perfectly fine. And if you're just trying to get a message across, and I think it's really important that we just break down those barriers and really set celebrate it because it's such a wonderful natural resource that we have. You know, it's a great language. You know. Mostly, I play mostly RPGs, role-playing games, and depending on what I used to work with inneachar. I haven't done that in a while, but I used to. We used to have an Irish language team, and we played together, games together. And I'm still the only person who does it actively on a regular basis every Sunday. I would love that to not be the case, as much as I love having the Irish language, but I would really love there to be more people who would be willing to come forward. But I think, again, it's just a tiny bit of fear people have of being incorrect and being corrected. So, yeah, no, it's great because I find that with the Irish language interactive experience and streaming, you have so many people come in. You have people who are interested in the language, who came from Twitter, people who are just search for Irish, and then I come up and they're like, what is this? The Irish people have their own language, what is that? Then you have people with maybe who are Irish Americans who have their ancestry is in Ireland, people who are just curious. I have someone from Arua. What's Arua in English? Norway? I think it is. Norway. And Elvish, which is... Thank you. See, look at this is great. There we go. So they come into my stream as well, and they learned Irish. They're learning Irish just for crack. So that's, you know, so it's a great growth. I find that sometimes actually, and I don't know, everyone's obviously here at varying levels, but there's some words that I cannot think of in English quickly enough. Like, for example, I have the inability to count in English. I just have to say all my multiplications in Irish, or I just mess up completely. So, it's great to be able to, once you get to a stage where you're able to switch your brain between the two really easily, that's a great moment. So if you haven't reached that point, I hope you do reach that point, because it's really magical, I think, with any language.
I suppose talking to Nora, nachhfuil factious art.
Yeah, Sinead.
Making mistakes.
Yeah, Sinead.
Just to come on. Two articles recently in the Irish Times on a school in Dublin in which there are 51 language background students going to the school. Do you remember reading that?
I actually don't remember reading that now.
Did anybody else here see that? Yeah, 51. Now it's been developed into a positive, like you mentioned, more diversity.
Yeah.
And they've actually found, an example of that the leading students of the Irish language are the ones whose English is the second, third, fourth, fifth language. And learning Irish is no problem because of the diverse background.
Yeah.
Can I just mention that again? Fitzborough too. And the school was in the Dublin area.
Right, yeah.
And I think it's one of the few really positive arguments I've seen made for diversity.
Oh, definitely.
As
yeah.
an educational tool, not just for language, but for other cognitive development.
Yeah, and I think what's really important as well is that, so I think with secondary school, it's really drilled into us that a second language means business and jobs, which is so unfortunate because it should be for passion.
In my time, the second language was Latin.
Oh, right.
Or Greek.
Yeah.
Although we were doing it all through Irish, by the way, second language.
Yeah.
But that was to do with the church and medicine.
Of course.
The dominant professions at the time, in my view.
We definitely see I'm not sure what the case is for the UK, but in Ireland we have many different subjects now. There are even, like I did my leaving cert in 2009, and we were still quite restricted in what we could learn. It was either French or German. But like I'm currently studying Japanese, and I would have loved to have done that leaving cert, and it is a leaving cert subject right now. Like Russian is one as well, and it's I would love to have seen that, so many more options, and the fact that there's 51 students with different languages, that's incredible, and it's something to be celebrated. I always question people who are against that kind of stuff. Like, why? Why would you, the world is meant to be explored. So So I think that's a wonderful thing. Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah. No, what to know, come
Now, Unklach was brought up.
Want to be a coming moment.